happened, didn't we?
Yeah, and I just thought it was completely ludicrous what she said. About that. I also wanted to mention about I can't remember the caller earlier who was saying from home. Well, I don't know what school he was talking about, and I understand how hard it is for the teachers to teach us from home, but the work I received over the last lockdown during year 12 was less work than I would have received just as homework in school.
Really, really that different. I've heard very mixed reports from people whose children are at school, some good, some not so good, about the kind of contact time they've had with teachers and the effectiveness of the online learning and teaching.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of our lessons just tend to, I even had one teacher who was just calling from bed and then, told us a bit of work to do in 10 minutes and then, in bed.
Well, and revealed that to you?
Pardon?
Revealed that he or she was calling from bed?
Well, I mean, obviously he was clothed, he was just sitting on bed.
No, I'm not suggesting there's anything sexual about it.
Okay.
He was in bed, essentially, doing his job.
In the middle of, we would just get a call, for 10 minutes, they'll set us a bit of work that probably took half an hour. And, for some students, I was lucky, I had, my house was quite quiet, I was able to stay at home, and I managed to do quite a lot of work, and I actually ended up doing better than I would have done at school when my grades have gone up. But a lot of people out there that I don't think, even if, however much they're really hard to study from home.
Listen, thank you very much. I wish you well, Nick, with it all. Nick in Cambridge. That's extraordinary. I never presented a programme from my bed, I promise you. Joe, who's in year 11, says, how can someone who has self-isolated a few times and had no home learning do the same exam as someone who hasn't self-isolated at all and did have home learning? And Tiffany says, the stress that college kids have had this holiday is unreal. 2 weeks of revision with Christmas plans changing last minute. Uncertainty still about whether our exams are going to go ahead or not, as well as trying to stay safe. How much does students' mental health have to take? This is Tiffany 215.
LBC. If you're looking for advice and tips on the big consumer issues, the place to be is the LBC Consumer Hour every Friday from 9 p.m.
You're listening to the LBC Consumer Hour with me, lawyer Dean Dunham.
Good evening, Dean. Thank you very much for taking my call. Thanks for taking the call.
How can I help?
Join Dean Dunham for the LBC Consumer Hour every Friday evening from 9 with Which, the UK's consumer champion. Shop smarter with expert tips and advice.
Glorious food, I'm hungry for some more. Here's for every move, my pizza's already at the door. Meerkat meals, now with and Pizza Hut delivery for a whole year, only with the Meerkat app. Wonderful food, glorious food.
Qualifying purchase or membership a year, £30 minimum spend. App only, geo restrictions and T's and C's apply.
Are you good to go with Sale at Argos? Brighten up your January with great offers on a variety of products. Go online to shop our full range of deals. With Argos, you good to go? Sale ends 21st of January. Selected lines, conditions apply. Subject to availability.
Right, car needs a clean. Finish my cuppa first. Of course, the sponge is on the top shelf in the garage. Don't want to drag those steps out just for that. Check weather. 2% chance of snow. Maybe next weekend.
Don't put things off this year. Get 6 months free data and calls. So the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE is now under £16 a month. Get your skates on. Search your 2 winter sale.
£15.81 for the first 6 months on the 1 gig custom plan, then £31.81 a month plus RPI, ends 13th of January.
On the 7th of September 2018, British Airways announced a data breach. Over 400,000 BA customers had their personal data stolen. If you received an email notification from BA that you are a victim, you may be entitled to significant compensation. You have until the 31st of 2021 to join the scheme. Find out if you're eligible. Visit badataBreach.com/radio or text data to 600 66.
Get a credit limit of up to £1,500 when you need it. Check if you're eligible at ocean.co.uk without it affecting your credit score. Intelligent Lending Limited is a credit broker. Capital One is the exclusive lender. Representative 39.9% APR variable. No annual fee. The Ocean Credit Card. Visit ocean.co.uk.
Come on, pick up the pace a bit. And let's bring on New Year's Day right now. Because there's an incredible 10, yes 10, UK millionaires guaranteed with Euro Millions on Friday the 1st of January. And that, my friends, really is dream come true money. Get the new year off to a dream start with Euro Millions from the National Lottery. Play on app, online and in-store. Account terms, rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Dine in this new year for just £15 for two of you. Enjoy a main, side and wine, plus a starter or dessert. Our best ever chicken Kiev, delicious Conte Puglia Prosecco, and maybe a gastropub melt in the middle pudding. This is not just food, this is M&S food. All your M&S food departments are open. 11/18s only, selected stores only, T&Cs apply.
This is LBC with Sheila Folk.
I've got a picture from the hospitals in about 10:15. Higginson joined Vice President of the Royal College of Emergency. There's some huge pressure on many hospitals at the moment for obvious reasons. Gareth has called from Worcester though to carry on our conversation about education in schools and whether they should reopen in January. You're a head teacher, Gareth.
I am Sheila. I'm a head teacher of a school which has just under 1,000 pupils and 2 linked junior schools, so the whole foundation has around 1,400 pupils.
Wow, busy man.
A busy man, yeah, absolutely. But I think part of the frustration of this last term, as I put when I texted you, has been the fact that we seem to have had edicts and guidances which have been leaked to the press and not actually delivered straight through to school leaders. And the biggest thing we've got to put into place is obviously the testing, and testing is the way in which we can keep schools open. And if we'd had that a little bit earlier, perhaps, if we'd had the testing instructions at some point during the autumn term, I think the 23rd of December, and I'm not going to bring any of my teachers in. They are exhausted. They've worked so hard this last term. Many of them have really not stopped working since March. So the pressure's been put on us as a group. And yes, we'll deliver for the children, but it's not the way I think that.
So talk to me about testing then in your school. If you were given the ability to do it and the kit to do it, would you be able to?
I think if we had equipment, then we would then find ourselves stumbling a bit with the personnel. That's the biggest challenge. I have been really moved by the number of parents and other people linked to the school who said, look, I'll come and help out, we'll see what we can do. People who are perhaps retired nurses, changing careers or similar. But the biggest difficulty is actually how we're going to implement it. And when this was done, I think one of your earlier callers, you were discussing actually about the implementation of it in Liverpool. That was undertaken by the Army, and the Army were supposedly going to be helping schools. But to do that with the amount of personnel they've got and the sheer challenge of testing so many children on such a regular basis, which will have an effect if they're not coming into school. If we have the delay, will have a huge effect on not just simply their exam preparations, but the big ticking time bomb, I think, is the mental health of this generation.
I'm going to I'll come back to that if I may before we end our conversation. But can I just linger for a second with you, Gareth, on what the last 3 months, 4 months have been like since schools returned? And I know that there's been lots of absence in many schools because of infection and bubbles having to go and symptoms and the like, but give me a sense of what that's done to your ability to just organise a curriculum and deliver it, and of course look out for the kids.
Well, I think if we even go back even further, back to March time when the first lockdown came about, and I think many schools were on the hoof trying to put into place online learning platforms and trying to give hybrid learning systems that would enable children to be educated. That put immense pressure on the pupils, on the staff, but the pupils I think most importantly because they so need that social interaction when they're at school. You then have the big challenge. So really, after the end of term in July time, things went a bit more
quiet, and suddenly the exam fiasco with the use of centre-assessed grades and the sort of pullback the government did on the initial grades that were given out and all that sort of thing, that was very, very difficult, very challenging time. And then when term started, it was trying to say, well, the key thing we've got to do is deliver in the classroom. We've got to make sure our curriculum is being provided to our pupils. But at the same time, you've got pupils going off, you've got to bubble your year groups, and often bubbling year groups meant that, you know, one person got it and then you'd have to move the whole pupils' learning to an online platform. That puts huge effects on parents, and at the same time, the government said that we were sent testing kits, or we received 10 testing kits, and if you do a ratio of that for the number of pupils in a school, and we talk about large schools here, then that's really not worth much. So the last 4 months have been a challenge, but I think if you look at the way in which staff and teachers and fellow heads has innovated, it's brought about such a lot of positive change as well in terms of making our teaching and learning more adaptable.